So I'm doing better, everyone. I just needed a few extra days, so it wasn't the only thing going around in my head. It still left me wondering what I should do with the next video, though. Something positive feels wrong to do right now, and negative feels kinda gross. Neither seems right. I want to put out something that makes people happier, but at the same time, what Andrew appreciated about me was my fire. How about both? It's Legacy Bombburst and Shockwave 1998's Custom Siege Skywarp. Starting off with the Bombburst, it's actually kind of charming to find a Legacy figure that is finally just bad. It's not that the QC is holding it back, it's not that the posability is missing something key. It's not any one horrible misstep. It's just very not good in a whole lot of not deep ways. The look of the robot mode is this thing's one and only strength, and it's not a particularly good one. This is very much getting by on its charm alone as a weird little monster guy with a goofy head. And it's not even really doing as well at that as his compatriots in the other Pretenders, where Iguanas wound up perfectly cohesive like something out of Star Trek, and Skullgrin wound up so gloriously 80s. This is at least kind of 90s, I guess. Honestly, yeah, that's pretty much what this is. This looks like a scaled-down 90s toy with all of the faults that entails. The proportions are just batshit. Pun absolutely intended. Like, this man jumps straight from dick to pecs, and it looks exactly as weird as that sounds. And I have to wonder why this absolutely has no way to integrate with normal-sized pegs. His guns can do it, but not the guy himself. And then he's got the offset Decepticon badge, even though this would have easily fit on the center of his chest. OCD hate. OCD hate very much. He looks like an Oompa Loompa in a bad Halloween costume he cobbled out of the last 4 years of Sam Hain parties. He's got the head of a bat pig monster, the torso of a Chaos Space Marine, the backpack and guns of a spaceship, and a slap stapler. The ultimate slasher villain weapon. His null ray wings are just so low, it's dumb as hell. Looking at pictures of where these are supposed to go, they should be mounted on the tops of his shoulders, which would be way cooler. Even if we take that they are trying to make this look more like the inner robot of the old Pretender into account, this isn't where they're supposed to go. They should be mounted like null rays. Honestly, this guy came out the worst of the Pretenders in capturing his old design. Like, Iguanas managed to be a near perfect blending of his two modes that looked super cool, and Skullgrin wound up almost entirely with the body of his old inner robot mode, but at least it had the perfect unignorable head that demanded your attention. This, on the other hand, doesn't have any of the silly He-Man energy that the original design had. Like, only now do I realize that these chest things are supposed to be hands. And what happened to the hypermobility splints that were all over his body before? Honestly, looking at this now, and I think I know what they did. They didn't base this thing on his old character models, they based him on the Power of the Prime's Prime Master armor. I dare you to look at this and tell me I'm wrong. Not only that, but I think that the Prime Master might actually look cooler. The head is almost the saving grace here, but there's just something not quite gripping me about it. It's somehow both going too hard and not hard enough at the same time, and it just doesn't feel right to boot. Like, it's too weird to look like it belongs on these shoulders naturally, but at the same time, it's not like Skullgrin where it's so absurd it becomes awesome. It looks like a bat pig thing, and that could have ruled in a really dumb way, but it feels slightly confused. Like, this should be all bat, and it should be big and nasty and 90s, but it looks more like a bat helmet than anything else. It's too much to fit and not enough to be awesome. So the look of this figure just isn't where it needs to be. It's not serious enough, and it's not goofy enough while being too goofy in the wrong ways. The build of the guy sure is wacky, but it's not trying to be. It's just done wrong. And what is meant to be weird and interesting just kind of phones it in. I'm serious when I say that I think this guy was more based on the POTP Prime Master than he was his original toy or the artworks of it. The accessories aren't making up for it, but at least they aren't terrible. He's got the aforementioned hammer stapler, which in almost all the pictures ever released of this guy was actually made to look like a brutal heavy metal weapon. Not here. Here, it looks like he's about ready to tack up some house wrap or nail on some shingles. Being able to fly would help with that, honestly, though. It doubles as a bad nose gun for the alt mode, but it does at least fit blast effects. And then you got his arm guns, and oh boy, do these look like they came right out of an accessory bin that time traveled from the 90s. They probably have more detail than something that much older, especially here on the gray slatted parts, but not enough that it looks complete by modern standards. These two fit blast effects. You can at least peg them onto the backpack for, I guess, an approximation of his shoulder wings, though they are the wrong color and it stressed the ports to do that. Plus, you can't really have it work with them going forward, which could have been a cool attack mode. You at least can treat them as axes, I guess. Better than the stapler for sure, but it begs the question why we even have the stapler in the first place. But yeah, none of these are really all that inspiring. Decent for a little toy, but this thing needs every edge it could find, and it's just not locating them. Posability is okay, great in some areas, pretty bad in others. Head only swivels because it's on a mushroom peg for no reason, and the degree of its swivel is unnecessarily limited. Slightly less than 90 shoulders, which in a stupid plot twist have a hard time going forward because they peg in when at his sides. Normal 90 elbows, no wrists, yes waist, which I only mention because a lot of cores don't have a waist, excessively unimpeded hips, normal 90 knees, and good feet with a toe down, heel down, and an extreme rocker. Pretty good for a core, better than the deluxe Earthrise Cliff Jumper for sure, but the head is really depressing. Let me at least get some character out of this if its look is going to be not enough like it is right now. Transformation flat fucking sucks. Literally every other core does more than this. And it's so short and brain dead that the first time I've ever shown you the transformation not sped up at all was with Needle Nose, just like a week ago. This one, I might actually have to slow down, or just repeat several times over. And those tabs that make moving his arms in robot mode a pain because they lock in for the transformation are borderline useless here. That's right, they work better in the mode they aren't supposed to work at all on. Great job, guys! And the end result is really shitty. It's just a robot, scorpioned out, with a hat on. It does nothing to try and disguise the arms, or to try and look cohesive. There's a huge gap at the back. I mean, the face is chilling out on the bottom, and the arms are just freewheeling back here. You can, I guess, bend them at the elbow to not have so much hanging off the ass of the shit mode. I was going to say shit mode, but then I thought, nah. So yeah, this sucks. While I get that tastes are subjective, I feel confident in saying that this is just bad, in every way. It doesn't look cool enough to make up for how awkward and silly it is, and it's not silly enough to make up for how awkward and uncool it is. It doesn't pose well enough to look cool in spite of all of its awkward, uncool silliness. Accessories aren't good enough to make up for any of what came before or after them. Transformation is somehow more unsatisfying than it is boring, and it's like a champion of boring. And then the alt mode is awful, ugly, unfinished, doesn't hold together, and is somehow not worth the 0 time it took to transform it. I don't know that this is worst of year material like Kingdom Hot Rod, but it's just firing on no cylinders. However, Shockwave 1998's custom Skywarp that he made as a gift for me is firing on every cylinder in every vehicle ever made. I can't even begin to explain to you just how surreal it is to have people pay me money just to make entertainment for them, and then to also have them go, hey, I made a present for you with my blood, sweat, and tears that if I sold, I could probably charge like $200 for easily. Wow. I don't know how I could feel more like an imposter, unworthy of this glorious effigy that you have crafted in divine beauty, but thank you. My heart crumbles at your generosity. How is this real? What did I do to deserve being this lucky and having fans like you guys? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anyways, this thing makes my knees weak, and I'm scared to touch or review it, both because I feel unclean in its presence, but also because, dear God, do I not want to damage it. Spoiler alert, I will not be transforming this because I do not want to risk its destruction. Shockwave crafted this out of a thundercracker, and it's not just the shit-eating smirk that gives it away, but the fact that if you bend the elbows enough, there is that telltale blue on the inside of some of the joints. And look, the man has clearly been listening to me all this time, because while I don't know how well it will show up on camera, I just have to say, shiny thing good. Shiny thing very good. The paint is just so good. The paint job brings tears to my eyes. You know me, I'm not one for paint, unless it's shiny. At which point, I am all about shiny. And this is so goddamn shiny! Everything is picked out in beautiful, glorious detail that Hasbro has never even attempted to approach in quality. Even their premium line isn't qualified to hold this thing's jock. Shockwave even painted over the light piping as he should. Though, sadly, he does not seem to have chromed the eyes.
0 out of 10. 0 out of 10! Sometimes you run around in this game, what do you do? This! No, what is this, you may ask yourself? Classic case of 0 out of 10!
And he's added these cool little details like these blue accents in the shoulder pylons. I do have to hand it to the base design of this figure in having, for once, accurate feeling pylons without them interfering with his field of vision. Now, the paint on this has made every joint extra tight, which, that coupled with the fact that you've seen me review the articulation on this mold before, also means that I'm not going to cover posability as well. But I will go into accessories because Shockwave was kind enough to send extras. For starters, he made these way nicer than the normal Null Ray assault rifle hybrids from the stock figure. It was always kind of strange how much they changed these on the Siege model, but damn if they didn't look cool. Though I don't know why you'd have scopes on a dual-wielded pair of assault rifles that you mount to your shoulders. I mean, how would you even look through those? You'd have to be like one of those Japanese snake-necked yokai women. The inner purple bits really give this thing life, but he also included a separate set of more accurate Null Rays for that classic Seeker look. These two have been painted beautifully, and they even make more sense without having the stupid scopes on them. Plus, neither of these sets are loose in the shoulders like some copies of this original mold are thanks to the paint. But I do think I'm going to keep this guy in his stock configuration. Thanks, man. It's a nice gesture, and it's nice to have the option to go with something more accurate, but I want this guy to be now part of my Seeker trio. And to that end, he needs to have the same guns as the other two. And I just can't begin to thank you enough. This thing is truly a work of art, an immaculate piece conceived in the mind of greatness, and it's something that I will now cherish forever. Wait, never mind, he has 4 guns now. All fear the Quadra Null Rays! And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say.